Is AXP an IPO or is it different? I don't know what it stands for. Initial public offering. So an IPO is when AXP is not an IPO. I know I'm talking about a very different topic. So I'm an investor at Backstage Capital, right? I built a venture fund. That's what I did first before I did my info and coaching. And so I'm during the day, that's where my mind is a lot of the time. And I've invested in 200 plus companies, and they're private companies. And we usually, 99% of the time, invest very early stage. So we invest when they're going out for their first amount of capital, outside capital. And it wouldn't be like an individual, wouldn't be a coaching program. It'd be more like a tech company or beauty brand or something like that. And so we make these early bets on startups. And in our case at Backstage, what we do is we invest in women, people of color, and LGBTQ plus founders because they get so little funding. So that's what our portfolio is mostly made of. Um, an IPO is way, 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 way down the line, and not every company does it. It's these big companies that have stock tickers. You see when they're like the stock market goes up and down, and they have these like, my stock went up or I lost this much on a stock is because, or the S&P 500, which is an index fund that has just a bunch of stocks that you can just invest in at one time. So an IPO is when a private company gets so big or needs a large amount of money that they can sell not to private investors like I do at Backstage, but to the country, to the world in some cases. Like not every country can invest, but you know what I mean. So this is the biggest IPO. SpaceX is the biggest IPO in history. It is currently at a $2 trillion market cap, which means that it is worth today $2 trillion. And a trillion is 1,000 billion. So these numbers are just out of this world. We've never seen these numbers before. I think there are eight companies in the US that are worth a trillion, like Apple is one of them. Um, these are just crazy numbers. And probably what's going to happen is that within the next 3 or 4 hours, maybe 5 hours, it probably will go down. That's what usually happens with an IPO like this, because it's so like they call it frothy or bubble, it's so like hyped that people are so excited. Yeah, I want in. So they're buying, buying, buying. But usually it levels out and even sometimes dips. Sometimes it goes like lower than they expected. So we'll see what happens. And the reason that it's important, even though I can't stand Elon Musk and he doesn't need to be richer in any way, shape, or form, that's my personal opinion. Anybody can have your own opinion. The reason it's interesting to look at is that it sets a standard or a precedent for future companies doing so. So who's in line to do an IPO? OpenAI, ChatGPT, Anthropic. And Anthropic, in fact, filed earlier than OpenAI did. So they're probably going to do theirs sooner. And that's who owns Claude. So if we have OpenAI and Claude, are they going to be worth a couple trillion? We're going to see. It's going to be really interesting. And it's going to say, okay, is this the biggest bubble in history where everything's going to come crashing down? Or is it like optimism? Are people, Main Street investors like us, are we going to be able to just, make more money because we can invest in these companies? And the bigger thing is, uh, where do we go from here with SpaceX? It's already at 2 trillion. Do they really think it's going to be worth 10 trillion so that people actually make money from this? Or is it just so hyped like a crypto? Like is it so hyped that people are just like drinking the Kool-Aid and like, yeah, let me get in. I just want to be in. So that to me, this is really interesting. I'm trying to get Terry on a video so she can talk me through it too. Checking for her text messages because Terry, people are just getting in. Terry, black woman, interviewed her at Your First Million Live, and she's done 60 million in course sales, teaching people how to trade, but she makes money trading, of course. She made $1 million in one day trading at one point, she said. Anyway, so she's right now at on the floor of the stock market, and that's not really how you say it, but I'm just saying it to make it make sense. She's on the floor right now, and yeah, so I'm excited. So, and I also personally, we have invested, my fund has invested in OpenAI. So I'm keeping an eye on what I'm looking for is what happens hour six of this IPO. Does it crash or dip? What happens day seven when the honeymoon is over? And that tells us when we should sell our stocks for OpenAI. Does that make sense? Like we're trying to look at the pattern to see if it's a bubble. Yes, exactly, Dominique. We're trying to look at literally, yes. We're trying to look at the pattern to see if this is like I personally think it doesn't it's not sustainable. Like it's no way that it can just keep going up. But also I have underestimated the power of Elon Musk love and delusion multiple times. Like it is it's the same with Trump. Like you would think something wouldn't work, but then there it is, and it does work. I also am interested in seeing if people who are not just Silicon Valley or New York rich investors can actually make some money from this, because I don't know the answer to that. Because in this case, you got to have money to make money. So you have to be like with Terry when she did her $1 million day. She told us in that interview, because I asked her, I said, "You make $1 million a day, but what did you put in?" She put in 300,000, which is amazing to get 700,000 back in a day, but you had to have the 300,000 to do it. So, how does this tie into AXP? It doesn't, but I can make it. Like, I can make anything do anything. So that's what I was talking about earlier as the people were coming in. Yeah, just pretty remarkable what's happening today. I wish with all my heart that Elon Musk was more like Iron Man and he was cool and we could have fun with him because he has the perfect positioning to be fun. Instead, he's a psychopath. He's a narcissist and a megalomaniac and harmful to many, many people. Yeah, I might just cut this clip and put it on YouTube because it's how I feel. So, it's how I feel.